I'm just giving it a few minutes for more people to join, and then we can start. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon to you, depending on where you're logging in from. My name is Olutobi Onoji, and I work for the Nigerian Stock Exchange as the Corporate Sustainability and Responsibility Team Lead. I am pleased to welcome you to today's virtual session to commemorate the 2021 International Women's Day and ring the bell for gender equality, hosted by the Nigerian Stock Exchange in collaboration with the IFC, International Finance Corporation, United Nations Global Compact, Nigerian Network, and UN Women. Allow me to introduce our co-moderator for today, Adaore Udechukwu, Gender Specialist, Nigeria and West Africa, International Finance Corporation. Ada, over to you.
Thank you, Olutobi. So today, we welcome everyone. The Nigerian Stock Exchange will be joining over 100 stock exchanges around the world who have signed up to the Ring the Bell for Gender Equality session. The theme of this year's celebrations, Choose to Challenge, aims to elevate awareness around challenging the barriers to women's economic participation and celebrate women leaders and women's organizations that have contributed their skills, knowledge, and networks to effectively lead in COVID-19 response and recovery efforts. Women bring different perspectives and experiences and skills to the workplace and business environment, and today, again, serves to appreciate women from all walks of life. So over the next hour and a half, we will be listening to messages from industry leaders and subject matter experts as they share insights on the challenges and opportunities that are available for creating a gender equal world. We urge you to listen attentively and participate fully. You can put in your comments, questions, or introductions in the chat box. So today's event would run in two parts, the webinar and closing gong ceremony. The part one is the webinar, and it starts now with opening remarks from Mr. Oscar Onyema, OON, the CEO of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. His remarks will be followed by goodwill messages from the International Finance Corporation, UN Global Compact, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. This would then be followed by our keynote speaker, whose presentation would segue into the panel discussion. After the panel discussion, we'll transition to the closing gong ceremony, where we close the market for today, for today's trading by ringing the bell for gender equality. So I'll hand over to Olutobi at this point to make the necessary introductions. Thank you.
Many thanks, Ada. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I would like to start by making one particularly important introduction. In the spirit of recognizing the essential role that women play in our ecosystem, we would like to start this session by celebrating our very own Ms. Tinu Adeawe, Executive Director, Regulation at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, who was recently featured on the inaugural annual Women Leaders list of the World Federation of Exchanges for 2021. This initiative drew almost 60 nominations from every corner of the world as the WFE's global membership put forward their talented existing and future leaders towards this initiative. We are truly proud to have you as one of our leaders, and we look forward to making the most of your exemplary leadership at the exchange. Ms. Awe, if you may please put on your camera so we can see your face mark. She's not with us at the moment. Okay. So Without further ado, we would transition to Mr. Oscar Onyema to give us the opening remarks of today's session and get the session started. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Oscar Onyema.
Thank you very much, Toby, and thank you, Adar. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. May I start by recognizing the council members of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the distinguished members of the boards of directors of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX Regulation Limited, and NGX Real Estate Limited. Our partners, International Finance Corporation, IFC, UN Women, Global Compact Nigeria Network, GCNN, the special guests of honor, the keynote speaker, panelists, representatives of the stock brokering community, and you distinguished guests. On behalf of the National Council and Management of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this year's International Women's Day celebration and the 7th Ring the Bell for Gender Equality events. It has been a very challenging year since we last gathered at the Events Center of the Stock Exchange Building to celebrate the 2019 edition of the International Women's Day. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented us with unprecedented challenges, forcing us to evolve our way of life and transition to a new normal. Experts argue that these changes are pivotal in determining the future of work, which would be driven by innovative solutions that could spur global economic growth. The pandemic also created significant challenges for global development targets. For example, a recent study by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, found that 44 million people are expected to be pushed into extreme poverty by 2030 due to COVID-19. Despite the gloomy picture, the outstanding role played by women during the pandemic cannot be overlooked. Women demonstrated exemplary leadership as heads of government in Denmark, Ethiopia, Finland, Germany, Ireland, New Zealand, and Slovakia. And they were lauded for their effectiveness in managing the COVID-19 health crisis in their respective countries. Globally, women are still playing significant roles as frontline healthcare workers and caregivers during this pandemic. Amidst these successes, the pandemic presents unique challenges for women. Occupational gender segregation exposes women to job losses given their overrepresentation in the informal sector, as well as in sectors such as retail and hospitality, which were affected significantly by the pandemic. In the present home-based work environment, women employees are more likely to experience a higher burden on their time, given their multiple responsibilities for family members while striving to meet work targets. More so, recent reports by UN Women indicate that there has been a steep increase in violence against women and girls during the pandemic. These challenges contribute to growing global concerns that the pandemic could reverse the limited progress that has been achieved on gender equality and women's rights. Therefore, in order to enable women equally participate as workers and entrepreneurs in national development, it is critical to monitor gender gap across leadership in government and public decision-making institutions, critical sectors of the economy, women's participation in entrepreneurship and corporate value chains, and skills acquisition in emerging fields of enterprise, such as technology. At the Nigerian Stock Exchange, we are committed to playing our part by implementing various initiatives aimed at promoting gender diversity and empowering women. These include improving women participation across the exchange. The NSE is at an advanced stage of its demutualization process, and the governance structure is expected to change significantly, with an increased number of women taking up board positions across the demutualized entities. Suitable policies that promote gender equality, such as a zero tolerance policy against activities that promote discriminatory behavior in relation to gender, including any form of sexual harassment. Pro-women policies that provide robust incentives to encourage women in the workplace, such as paid maternity leave and paternity leave, and the provision of a crèche within our premises for nursing mothers. Looking ahead, we recognize that there is a pressing need to do more to advance gender equality across our ecosystem. For example, a publication by the Professional Women's Roundtable, PWR, in July of 2020 disclosed that only 21% of board directorships in the top 20 NSE listed companies are held by women. This is one of the reasons why the NSE continues to explore ways to advocate for gender parity across our ecosystem. One of our key initiatives in the 3-year Nigeria to Equal program that we are implementing in collaboration with the International Finance Corporation. The program will support the private sector to increase women's participation as leaders, employees, customers, and entrepreneurs through favorable workforce policies and practices, products and services that target the women's market segment, and deliberate measures that promote women's participation in corporate value chains. Earlier this year, I joined the Nigeria country manager of IFC to engage the CEOs of the 30 most capitalized companies listed on the exchange, and we were particularly pleased with their level of commitment. At today's webinar, we will be privileged to listen to a diverse group of speakers who have recorded commendable achievements in their industry or have championed the cause for women empowerment with notable results. I urge you to join me in participating fully in the discussions to gain insights from our speakers on how we can leverage the challenges of the pandemic to create a gender equal world. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in line with the theme for this year's celebration, I boldly state my commitment to the gender equality cause. I choose to challenge for women to be represented on boards and across senior management of companies listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I hope today's deliberations will inspire you to choose your cause and support the cause to achieve gender equality. Let us choose to challenge for a gender equal world. Thank you for your attention and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you very much, Oscar, for the very warm welcome and for your unflinching commitment to gender equality. We do look forward to fruitful deliberations with our speakers today, as well as our attendees. So we'll move forward very quickly. I would like to yield the floor to Ms. Olajobi Makinwa. She is the Chief Intergovernmental Relations in Africa, UN Global Compact. I'm inviting her to deliver a goodwill message from the UN Global Compact. Ms. Olajobi Makinwa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Ada.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I stand on existing protocols. I'm honored to join you for the 7th Ring the Bell for Gender Equality event organized by the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Global Compact Nigeria Network, the International Finance Corporation, and the United Nations Women. As we celebrate International Women's Day and prepare for the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, we have a lot to reflect on. It has been a year since the COVID-19 pandemic took hold of the world, knowing no boundaries. Too many lives have been lost and too many livelihoods have been uprooted. Women have had to bear most of the brunt. My thoughts go to the families that have been impacted by COVID-19. I welcome the theme of this year's International Women's Day, Choose to Challenge. On this special day, I would like to call on all business leaders to choose to challenge the gender disparities that exist within organizations and set clear targets to breach the inequality, to address gender inequality at all levels. This includes policies that ensure equal pay for work of equal value, address gender bias and prejudices, prevent and end violence and harassment, offer clear opportunities for career development for women, and ensure that women are included in decision-making and all levels of leadership. Along with violence against women, leadership is a priority theme of the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women 2021, and the focus of the UN Global Compact's Target Gender Equality Program. In Nigeria, Global Compact Nigeria Network has been at the forefront of driving gender equality in the Nigerian private sector through its West Africa Gender Equality Initiative. The initiative was launched in 2020. Global Compact Nigeria will be running UN Global Compact's Target Gender Equality Global Impact Initiative, what we call the GII. This will start in 2021. It is an accelerator program for companies to set and reach ambitious corporate targets for women's representation and leadership at all levels. Ambitious corporate targets, they have to be ambitious, for women's representation and leadership at all levels. I warmly invite companies in Nigeria to be part of this GII initiative when our Global Compact Network launches it in Nigeria. The good news is that corporate support for gender equality has increased significantly in recent years. More than 4,500 business leaders have committed to the Women's Empowerment Principles, our joint initiative with UN Women. Yet our data shows that less than 30% of companies are setting concrete, measurable goals and targets. There is indeed a gap between commitment, action, and impact. This must be addressed. Earlier this year at the UN Global Compact, we unveiled a new strategy with gender equality at its front and center. The UN Global Compact works with over 12,000 companies of all sizes across 160 countries to accelerate corporate action for gender equality. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come a long way, but there is much work to be done. Governments cannot create a gender equal economy and society alone. Businesses, government and civil society and international organizations, we must all act together against barriers holding women back, be it stereotypes, biases, policy and legislative challenges, or economic inequalities. I am optimistic about what we can accomplish together. I would like to commend the incredible work of so many amazing women who have paved the way for us. We heard about Tinu this morning, and many of the board members of the Nigerian Stock Exchange that are women. Our fellow Nigerians, Amina Mohammed, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, have broken the glass ceiling in women leadership at the highest levels of international organizations. We need to replicate this achievement in all spheres of our society. Gender equality will be realized when our daughters, our granddaughters, and all other women and girls have access to every fair opportunity to succeed. I choose to challenge gender inequality. Let us work together. Thank you again for inviting me to be part of this event. I wish you all a productive dialogue that sparks a surge of action on SDG 5 in our country, Nigeria, in our companies and communities. We only have 9 years to realizing the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much indeed.
Wow. Thank you very much, Ms. Makinwa. That was a very strong message. Thank you so much for your goodwill message from the United Nations Global Compact. So we'll move on very quickly. I'll be yielding the floor to Erelu Angela Adebayo. She's a member of the National Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and will be delivering her goodwill message now. Erelu, over to you.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would also observe existing protocols and just merely greet all of us, because I feel that to be in any gathering today, we are indeed blessed and favored with what has gone on in the past year. So I greet everybody and I welcome all of you. It gives me so much pleasure to be part of the Nigerian Stock Exchange 2021 commemoration of International Women's Day and ring the bell for gender equality. For me, it gives me a profound, warm feeling because as you heard earlier, we've had this for the past 7 years. At the beginning of those 7 years, there were no women on council. And towards the middle of the 7 years, the first council, female council members joined in. The second vice president is here with me, and there's also Fatima Bello Ismail. The three of us joined council together. I'm sure I may go to say the council and the stock exchange have not exploded. And I would even go further to say that I think some of our being there has actually added color and a lot of different kinds of thoughts to the stock exchange as it is. Saying this now makes me feel even happier to welcome more board members onto the stock exchange, to welcome more board members onto the boards of the stock exchange. It's a very male-dominated society. In fact, there's no female gender used. We're all referred to as men, and I think we take it as a compliment, and we're happy to do so. So today, I feel a warm, indeed a fuzzy feeling to look out at so many people and see so many women that are actually part of us now in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Beyond its advocacy and awareness raising initiatives, the exchange continues to leverage its position at the heart of Africa's largest economy to advance the cause of gender equality in Nigeria. Action, not words, all the time. In 2016, the exchange signed up to the Women's Empowerment Principles and remains only one of the only 24 Nigerian organizations to do so. Building on this commitment, the exchange announced a partnership with the IFC during the 2020 International Women's Day celebrations to implement the Nigeria 2 Equal program, which aims to adopt a collaborative approach to closing gender gaps across corporate Nigeria. So today, I'm truly honored to celebrate the contributions of women and girls to the fight against COVID-19 COVID-19 epidemic and global economic recovery. Just about an hour and a half ago on Sky News, squashing themselves in between Meghan and Harry, came another report that women seem to have done so much and indeed suffered even more in the COVID-19 and the recovery program. Caregivers and healthcare workers, women have stood at the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, championing the delivery of healthcare all over the world. Women heads of states have been especially lauded for their exceptional response to the pandemic and the initiatives they implemented to flatten the curve. Indeed, we all didn't even notice it as it was happening, but recently online came a group of women and we all grew to realize just how much our presidents, prime ministers that are women have done in this struggle. Women have stood out in these difficult times, and this is evidence that women have an equal role to play in helping to shape the post-COVID-19 future. At the NSC, we continue to celebrate women. I've mentioned already our strong council, evolving into our strong boards, joining our very strong women management, staff, brokers, all in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We continue to celebrate them for their growth and career advancement. In conclusion, I urge you all to consider the challenge ahead of us in creating a gender equal world. All of us, but not just women, men and women, have a critical role to play in ensuring that we create a post-pandemic future that fully includes and supports women. Let's all choose to challenge the gender norms and stereotypes and create a more inclusive society that ensures we make steady collective progress towards empowering all women and girls by 2013, as enshrined by the SDGs. Thank you very much. I'm so happy that we have even more guests due to the virtual nature of the world now, and we welcome you and wish you a happy International Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erelu, Angela Adebayo, for your goodwill message. Thank you. We'll be moving on right now to our next session, which is the keynote address. But before that, we will just take a goodwill message from Stephanie von Friedberg. She's the Senior Vice President at the IFC, who couldn't join us today. Right after her video, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kevin Njiraini. He's the Regional Director for Southern Africa and Nigeria at the International Finance Corporation. So we'll watch the goodwill message now from Stephanie, the Vice President Operations at the International Finance Corporation, and then Kevin Njiraini, the Regional Director, will come up to give his keynote address. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to virtually join you as the representative of the International Finance Corporation, the private sector arm of the World Bank, and the largest lender to and investor in developing and emerging markets. For the past 7 years on International Women's Day, we have partnered with stock exchanges around the world to ring the bell for gender equality, to bring to the forefront the importance of gender equality in relation to sustainability and equitable growth. It goes without saying that the COVID crisis is one of the worst crises we have experienced in our lifetime, and it has been disproportionately hard on women. Our research actually indicates that women through the COVID crisis are 1.8 times more likely to lose their job than men. IFC acted quickly for the crisis. We created an $8 billion COVID facility for existing and new clients to provide liquidity. Much of this financing was made available to women-owned and women-managed SMEs. We have also worked hard to help with other intangibles, things like gender-based violence and childcare. Stock exchanges provide a wonderful opportunity to bring gender equality to the forefront. It's why we've partnered with them to create more diversified board on publicly listed companies, as well as to expand senior leadership in the same institutions. And in IFC, we made a promise to ourselves. We committed that by 2030, 50% of the board seats we hold as equity investors would be filled by women. I'm pleased to tell you that as of today, we have reached 49% of our board seats currently held by women. It's important that we continue to partner with stock exchanges. You bring key stakeholders together, companies, investors, and policymakers. This dialogue can bring gender equality to the forefront of the conversation and ensure that as we build back from the COVID crisis, we build back more resiliently and more equitably so that women can achieve all that they have the potential to achieve. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I'll be yielding the floor to Mr. Kevin Njiraini, the Regional Director, Southern Africa and Nigeria, International Finance Corporation. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Adan. Thank you, Olutobi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to be joining the Nigeria Stock Exchange. Our partners, the UN Women, UN Global Compact Network Nigeria, and guests as we commemorate this year's International Women's Day with over 100 participating stock exchanges in the Ring the Bell for Gender Equality events around the world. This event once again highlights the importance of gender equality for economic development and growth, an issue of even more importance given the devastating economic and social consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so as we celebrate International Women's Day, it is important to honor the progress that has been made. In Nigeria, for example, the overall gender gap index improved 5 percentage points since 2018. Nigeria was also listed as one of the 5 most improved countries in economic participation and opportunity sub-index. So we have a lot to celebrate about, and in particular here in Nigeria. And so although progress has been made, a lot more still needs to be done. The World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report for 2020 assessed that it will take almost 100 years to close the overall gender gap and 257 years to bring about parity in the workplace. And so this is further exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which, as many of you know, has had a huge impact on women. A recent McKinsey study indicates that while women represent 39% of the global workforce, they account for 54% of job losses as of May 2020, which is a real shame. Development finance organizations and the private sector can play a key role in addressing the challenges women face and the impact on businesses if we are to meet the SDGs. And so it is for this reason that IFC support for gender smart business solutions includes working with international development partners to respond to the crisis and prevent the gender gap from widening, and working with companies in developing countries to generate opportunities for women that also contribute to the bottom line. Because remember, many of the people here are private sector, and the bottom line is also very important. And so IFC's COVID-19 and gender responses include guidance for the private sector, such as strategies on improving gender equality, solutions for employer-supported childcare, insights on how to increase financial inclusion, lessons learned from women leaders of managing through the crisis, and ways to address and prevent gender-based violence. And so stock exchanges are formidable allies to facilitate gender equitable economic opportunities. Given their role in helping to connect companies, investors, and policymakers to support sustainable development practices, they're able to rally the private sector to increase women's participation in business and economic development. In Nigeria, for instance, IFC has partnered with the NSC to launch the Nigeria to Equal program, the first multi-stakeholder country project focused on reducing gender gaps in private sector companies. This 2.5-year program will bring together at least 15 publicly listed companies, and this was mentioned by the CEO earlier, to launch, implement gender smart action plans to reduce gender gaps across employment and entrepreneurship. These companies will make 2 tangible commitments to increase women's participation in the workplace. It will include at least 2 operational commitments to implement gender smart solutions in areas such as leadership, employment, and driving access to finance and markets for women entrepreneurs. an additional commitment around championing and advocating for more gender inclusion in the private sector will be a requirement for all participating companies. And it is this type of actionable commitment that will really make a difference. As part of the Nigeria to Equal program, IFC will help build the capacity of the NSE to integrate gender as part of the exchange's core activities that promote SDG number 5, which as you all know is on gender equality, and number 17, the private sector partnership for gender equality, to ensure sustainability beyond the end of the project period. Ladies and gentlemen, the business case is also important. Indeed, we as IFC emphasize the business case for increasing the participation of women as leaders, entrepreneurs, consumers, employees, and business leaders, because it is not only a moral imperative, but frankly, a smart business strategy. Many of you know that studies have shown that female talent is among the least utilized economic and business resource around the world. And the pandemic has made the situation even worse. In Nigeria specifically, where women account for half the population, they remain severely underrepresented in the country's private sector. And so these gender gaps are a result of many challenges, such as the gap in women's participation in the labor force, low access to finance, and which also are frankly critical resource limiting the potential women's entrepreneurship, and limited access to markets and corporate supply chains. So layered on top of what I've just mentioned, there's a heightened economic vulnerability women face as a result of gender-based violence. Research indicates that in Nigeria, 38% of women aged between the ages of 15 and 49 have experienced some form of physical or sexual violence. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the UN revealed that the reported cases of incidents spiked by as much as 56%. Unfortunately, most formal work environments do not make specific provisions to prevent workplace sexual harassment. Hence, victims of sexual harassment have inadequate mechanisms to seek redress, especially if company policies are ineffective. And so this demonstrates there's still so much to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, making even small inroads in closing the gender gap can quickly yield results, the potential to increase global GDP by $12 trillion by 2025, according to McKinsey. Indeed, despite some progress, women remain underrepresented in business leadership. Worldwide, women hold only 17% of board seats, only 5% of board chair positions, and only 4% of CEO roles, and only 12% of CFO roles. So you can see we still have a long way to go. Across Africa, women account for 30% of senior management and only 19% of board positions. And so it is no surprise that a 2018 survey by Wimbledon and IFC found that women accounted for only 14% of the 915 directors on the boards of the companies listed on the NSE, hovering below Africa's average of 19%. It is clear then that we must all help narrow the gender gap and push for change. The private sector is well positioned to directly address some of the issues through actions such as increasing female representation in business positions, equal training and education opportunities, equal pay for work, family leave, flexible work options, support for women-owned businesses and supply chain diversity, especially the SMEs, and of course, ending sexual harassment in the workplace. However, addressing the barriers that prevent women's advancements to boards and business leaderships requires a multifaceted approach, and which is why all of us are engaged in this discussion today. It is one of the reasons why IFC has stepped up its work with stock exchanges such as the NSE and is working directly to improve diversity on boards and senior leadership in listed companies. Because as many of you know, for these companies, failure to add more women to their boards and ranks of senior leadership is an opportunity cost. We therefore encourage stock exchanges to prioritize diversity in their own corporate cultures by implementing gender-friendly workplace policies. Disclosure about board and senior management diversity and related policies and practices is also key. Institutional investors understand that companies that promote gender balance have produced better returns on equity, returns on total assets, price to earnings ratios, and hence the increased focus on diversity and responsible investing. In other words, it's simply good for business. In 2020, for instance, Goldman Sachs announced they would not take companies public if they do not have at least one diverse board member, which is excellent. BlackRock now requires at least 2 female board directors on the companies of its portfolio. And NASDAQ has filed a proposal to adopt new listing rules related to board diversity and disclosure. clearly the landscape on gender equality is changing. And so in conclusion, we understand the importance of gender balance in the private sector and its link to sustainable development. It is my belief that Nigeria's private sector, being the country's largest employer, can play an instrumental role in reducing gender gaps across all levels, either through transformative action or advocacy. And so, as set off on today's conversation, I encourage you to choose to challenge gender inequality and take a public stand in signaling a commitment to gender equality. As institutional stakeholders, you can empower women in the workplace, marketplace, and community by participating in the Nigeria to Equal program and signing on to the Women's Empowerment Principles. I look forward to learning more on what participating stakeholders are already doing to promote women's participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin Mizraini. Very insightful contributions. We look forward to more companies being part of the Nigeria to Equal program as well. So the next stage, next part of this event will be the panel session. We'd like to invite our panelists and our panel moderator first, Ms. Ivana Osage. She's the founder of ADA. I would like you to, at this point, if you can take over the introduction of the panel session and introduce Ms. Ivana Osage, Professional Women's Roundtable founder.
Thank you very much, Toby. Very happy to do that. Ivana, thank you. So she'll be taking on the panel moderation from here. Ivana Osage is the founder, CEO of the Professional Women Roundtable, PWR. PWR is an African-focused female leadership, gender diversity, and inclusion advisory practice that promotes the participation of women in the economy. So thank you, Ivana. Over to you.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Really nice to be with you today. Thank you to the NSC for inviting me to moderate this panel. We are partners in progress in the drive for gender diversity and inclusion. I'd like to commend Mr. Oscar Onyema OON and his team for their efforts in pushing this agenda. Today, we are privileged to have an august panel of 4 distinguished senior business leaders with us, albeit virtually. And now, in no particular order, let me introduce our panelists. First, we have Mr. Patrick Akinwonto, who is the Managing Director and Regional Executive for EcoBank Nigeria. We also have Ms. Eme Essian-Lori, the IFC Country Manager for Nigeria. And then we have Mrs. Oluwa Soromidayo George, Chairperson, United Nations Global Compact Network Nigeria, and also the Director for Corporate Affairs and Sustainable Business for Ghana and Nigeria at Unilever. And last but not least, we have Mr. Lansana Wone, the UN Women Deputy Country Representative for Nigeria. Welcome to you all. Our format is that we're going to have a conversation during which I will put questions to each panelist. And if we have enough time, and it doesn't look like we will, we may go into a Q&A session with the audience. So the dialogue today is going to converge over 2 overarching questions. 1, what programs, initiatives, policies, or products are organizations implementing to challenge gender inequality? 2, what technology or other innovation are being used to create a more gender equal world beyond the COVID-19 pandemic? In this light, I would like to direct my very first question to Lansana. And Lansana, my question to you is, your organization implements extensive programs for promoting gender equality on a global scale. Could you please share with us 1 or 2 of these initiatives that have been undertaken in Nigeria and tell us how they have helped to promote gender equality out here? Thank you, Lansana.
Thank you very much. and good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen on this platform today. We are pleased to be a member of this partnership, and happy International Women's Day to all of us on the panel. UNWOMEN, as you all know, is the arm of the United Nations that was created specifically to promote gender equality and the empowerment of women. And perhaps without going into much literature, I can just take a cue from the different statistics that you have had from earlier speakers. Historical imbalances created as a result of the social structures in many societies, not only in Africa, but across the world, led to the marginalization of women in almost every aspect of society, whether it's in participation in politics, participation in the economy, in terms of the violence that they suffer, in terms of the disproportionate care burden, et cetera, et cetera. And so UNWOMEN was created to deal with these issues holistically through the coordination of efforts. And that is precisely what we do. Now in Nigeria, I can simply say our programs are divided into 4 parts. One has to do with women's economic empowerment. There's the other one that looks at women's political participation or political empowerment. There's one that looks at ending violence against women and girls. And there's the one that promotes women's participation in peace and security. I mean, you can see that all these entry points are specifically relevant to the Nigerian context. Women in Nigeria suffer in the economy. They are largely in the informal sector. In terms of political participation, Nigeria is the least performer, perhaps throughout Africa, with less than 5% of women as legislators. But also there is a lot of violence against women and girls in this country. The COVID-19 set the statistics even bigger. We all know that. Again, Nigeria also suffers a lot of conflict, and it is women and girls that suffer the burden of those conflicts. And yet they are marginalized when it actually comes to formal processes to end conflicts and build peace. So as a country office, we enter through all of this. But I don't want to take all the time. I want to be specific to women's economic empowerment. And so in that area, some of the things we do is that first and foremost, UNWOMEN sets global norms for gender equality, global norms for governments and global norms for companies. So how do you empower women in the economic sector? We set those norms, which are translated into policies and programs. At the national level, for instance, we are working with the government to make sure that the programs and policies that are supposed to promote businesses are gender responsive. I can say the recent example is, for instance, the fiscal stimulus package, which is being implemented by the government, as well as the social protection packages. We are working closely with the Ministry of Finance to make sure that those packages are gender responsive. And some of them has to do with promoting businesses. We made sure that in designing those programs, we work with the Ministry of Finance to make sure that women small businesses or women entrepreneurs are also taken into account. But then at the micro level, we're also working, strongly with the private sector. First, to make sure that the private sector, beyond the corporate private responsibilities, but also beyond philanthropy, they make their institutions gender responsive. And making the institutions gender responsive means they have to promote gender equality in terms of leadership at corporate level. And I'm happy to hear that in terms of the corporate world in Nigeria, women are in leadership positions more significantly than the political world. But we go beyond that. We are also looking at what we call affirmative procurement, supply chains. If you look at the government, for instance, procurement represents anything around 15 to 20% of the GDP in this country. But who gets the contract? It's often men. So we are now working with the government to make sure that government contracts are awarded, with a gender lens, that women businesses can compete in that. And part of the problems had to do with the capacity of women businesses to take that competition forward. And we are also working with those women businesses to build their capacity technically to compete. Now, at the very grassroots level, we are working to promote women smallholder businesses to become financially inclusive. So in the past, we have worked with Procter & Gamble, but also with MasterCard to make women financially inclusive. And currently, we have a relatively large program that we are implementing with Standard Bank on women's climate smart agriculture, where we are supporting women smallholder cooperatives to be able to empower their collectives, create access to financial services and market. We are doing that with two significant value chains in Nigeria. One is rice, which is a staple food in Nigeria, and the other one is shea butter, where we will be able to help these women to access international markets and sell their product. So those are what we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lansana. So some of what I heard there was access to markets, economic participation, and also leadership. I also want to say at this point that I may look very calm, but we're actually in panic mode almost because we're 20 minutes behind schedule. So I would like to ask my panelists to please all work with me so that we can go for a cold start. You know, we have a cold start stop at 2:20. Let me now direct that question to Soromi Dayo George. Can you tell us what the UN Compact Network is doing in this regard? Thank you. Soromi Dayo, looks like she's dropped off. Okay, so she's dropped off. So let me come to Emma then with my second question, and then maybe we'll come back to this. Emma, I understand that the NSC and the IFC are in active partnership to implement the Nigeria Equal program, which aims to support listed companies to close the gender gap in the next 3 years. Could you tell us a little bit about Nigeria to Equal and also how businesses can participate in this program, which sounds really laudable?
Thanks, Yvonne. I'm happy to talk about this really exciting initiative that we have with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Kevin mentioned it in his opening remarks, and I just want to also note how pleased we are at IFC to have Stephanie von Friedeberg as basically the second in command at IFC. So she's the first woman to have attained that stature at our institution in our 60-year history. So it's great to see her there. So yeah, we have partnered with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and actually this program, Nigeria to Equal, is actually the first multi-stakeholder country project that's focused on reducing gender gaps. So I'm really pleased that Nigeria can really lead the way and demonstrate for other countries that a partnership like this can actually lead to very tangible results. So let me describe a little bit about what the program is about. I'll just do so very, very quickly. It has 3 components. It's a 2.5-year program. It has 3 components. The first is research and data. We really want to spend some time to make sure that we have the market specific and firm level data and case studies to really underpin the case for gender equity more generally. So I think we all know anecdotally that it makes sense to focus on women in the value chain, focus on women entrepreneurship, but we want to make sure that we have the data to really underpin that. So we're really focusing on results, because if we start with the right baseline data, then we can measure how we have done over the 2.5-year period. Second is a peer learning platform, which I'm very excited about. This will allow companies to work together. They can network, they can share best practice, they can really rely on each other and lean on each other to learn from each other. I think we found across many of our programs, when you allow people to spend some time learning from their peers, their learning curve goes up quite dramatically. And so making sure that they can have a forum to actually connect with each other is going to be critical. So that is the second one. And the third level is around at the firm level itself. So we will be working with companies directly, many of the companies that are committed to this, that are on the exchange, to identify the gender gaps in their particular businesses. I mean, it's also important for us to think about this. Every company, I would argue, that has aspirations for growth and aspirations for market dominance, they're all thinking about how do we do a better job of ensuring that women as customers, women as consumers, women as clients, women as staff? How do we make sure that we're giving them the right opportunities so that the company itself can actually experience the kind of growth that they are anticipating? So we will be working directly with companies and really helping them to develop gender smart measures that will reduce those gender gaps for their particular business. We're going to bring together 15 publicly listed companies to implement this program. And then we're going to ask all of these companies to come up with 2 tangible firm level commitments to be able to demonstrate that they're really, again, committed to actually delivering on this. So it's not just talk. We really will ask them to put a lot of commitment and effort behind it, and they will hopefully announce that within their institutions and then make sure they bring the entire institution along. So we're very excited about this. I'm particularly happy that Nigeria is the first one. And I believe that when we kick this off for Nigeria, this Nigeria to Equal program, we'll have other countries, not just in Africa, but globally, following our lead and trying to do something similar for their respective countries. Thanks, Ivana.
Thank you very much, Emma. That sounds really exciting. You can't argue with data. Data is universal. So I'm really pleased to hear that we're going to be collecting data to build a business case and push the agenda further. I'm now going to move on to Mr. Patrick Akinwonton from Ecobank. And my question to you, Patrick, is reports indicate that women are underrepresented on boards and in leadership in corporate organizations. They also face challenges participating in supply chains. And in fact, we have touched on this a little bit already today. The question is, what is Ecobank doing to drive a gender inclusive culture internally within your organization, and also to facilitate greater participation of women in the supply chain? Patrick.
Well, thank you, Ivana. Let me start by congratulating Oscar, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Tinu, Eredu, Ojini, all the people I call boss ladies in the Nigerian financial system that are on this call. Yes, for us at Ecobank, I'll speak to statistics in Ecobank Nigeria. We do subscribe firmly to Principle 4 of the Nigerian Banking Sustainability Principles, which seeks to deepen the number of women on boards of banks. We currently have 3 powerful ladies on our board at Ecobank Nigeria. Within the workforce at the base level, we have 49% of our workforce are women. And I'm very proud about that because they make it happen for us. At the management and executive level, 40% of our senior management and executive team are women. To ensure that there is a proper pipeline, 46% of the management trainees that we brought in, these are future leaders in the bank, are women. We know that the men jump from one employment to the other more. So we know that down the line, that percentage can only get better. 46% of management appointments since the year 2020 are women. I can share with you 4 major business areas. 3 of them are led by women: our commercial bank business, our treasury business, and our consumer bank business. It's only the corporate bank business that is led by a man. Our CFO is a powerful lady, our head of branches. 3 out of 4 regional heads. We have 4 regions in Ecobank Nigeria. 3 out of the 4 regional heads are women. Our head of agency banking, our head of direct banking, our head of Ecobank Academy is a woman. Our head of customer experience is a woman. So we have the statistics to demonstrate that we give equal opportunity, and we actually we see the value in the outstanding multitasking capabilities of the women within Ecobank. Ojini Olagere on this call and on the stock exchange is a proud product of the Ecobank flow. And we've had a woman managing director before, Funke Oshibodu. And with the leadership we have, I'm confident that in the very near future also, we will see female CEOs out of Ecobank Nigeria deepening that pool. In terms of wages and reward, we place value on contribution. We do not have any gender discrimination, and quite naturally, the women have excelled and continue to come through that pipeline. From a customer standpoint, we actually have specific products and focus on women. We have our EcoBank Female Entrepreneur Initiative, where we provided discounted interest loans, particularly to women, because women have proven to be better at integrity of repayment of loans. Most of our bad loans, very few women are in the bad loans list. So out of recognizing that reality, we dedicated better access to finance to women in the bank. And we have now put together an Elevate program. It's a program that will specifically mentor women business leaders, women entrepreneurs, so that we provide the opportunity for women to take advantage of both the Africa Free Trade Area, where we look forward to championing women leaders in business out of Nigeria. This program also caters for financing women in the supply chain, whether for government or for other companies, businesses that have a high women content in their board membership and leadership composition. All this we give full attention with the Elevate program. And with our investments in technology, we see a major opportunity in improving our support for women, because given the opportunity to work remotely, the challenges of mobility, because women, we know they handle, they multitask, they do so many things that Lagos traffic is not very women friendly. With technology, we are able to empower women more to work remotely. We're able to support women-owned businesses better, because they typically are at their businesses rather than trying to get on Okada or hazardous movements. We're able to do their banking for them in their place of work, leveraging on technology, various digital platforms. And we also have an aggressive agency banking proposition, 24,000 agents now, primarily led by women currently, which is neighborhood banking. So these are areas that we're able to demonstrate our commitment to empowering women and to giving women equal opportunity, because given equal opportunity, they always excel.
Oh, isn't that really, really heartwarming? 49% of the workforce are women, 40% in management and leadership are women, and also 46% of the management trainees. So that's a pipeline. I think EcoBank, you could say, is a poster child for gender diversity and inclusion. And I think, Mr. Patrick Akinwoto, you have become our new he for she, and we're certainly going to be engaging with you, I'm sure all of us, to ensure that you're able to put the case to other male leaders. So well done, fantastic strides there. Mrs.
Thank you, Ivana.
George is now back, so I'm going to invite you, Shormi Dayo George. You are here wearing two hats, the UN Global Compact Network and also Unilever. So let's start now with you telling us about what the UN Global Compact, has she gone again?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I guess I can hear you, but I just can't see you, so I thought we had lost you.
No, I'm going to put off my video because I think my network is incredibly unstable. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so my network is incredibly unstable. I have changed to another bundle now, and I'm still getting the glitches. So I would assume that you're asking me about the women participation in the organization and in the supply chain as well.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. You can take that. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you very much. I want to say that it's indeed a great pleasure to be here. Unfortunately, I missed speaking the first time that you had reached out to to me. I don't know whether I should apologize for the glitches in the technology, but this is where we are in this new world that we're working from. First, I think I would like to note that today, Unilever rolls out a global campaign on domestic violence called On Mute. So a lot of the speakers have spoken a lot about domestic violence, and this is a very serious and important issue that takes many forms, whether it's physical, sexual, emotional, economical, or psychological. And there's so much statistics that have been put out there, so I'm not going to repeat what has been said. But what we're doing as Unilever is we've started a global campaign to be able to tackle this issue, not only internally, but also we're also offering other organizations access to our global domestic violence and abuse policy and the measures that we have put in place to support colleagues who have experienced abuse. We know that sometimes, what stops us from speaking out is that we feel unsure about how to help or how to ask others to help. So we provide colleagues with resources and direction. We have training modules that would demonstrate how to identify domestic abuse and provide insight into how to help others who are experiencing, that abuse, and give examples of how to stay safe, in 9 different languages. So we want to use this occasion of the International Women's Day to encourage people to join that campaign, okay. Domestic violence, to unmute as we choose to.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but it keeps nipping in and out, so it's not very good. But let's see.
Sorry.
You're nearly done anyway, aren't you?
Okay. So our gender inclusive policy runs right through the organization, from our value chain, from sourcing to sales and consumption. Today, for instance, we have a total of 4,000 women who are part of our sales distribution in rural areas of Nigeria. We're looking to bring in more on board. And we have a long-standing mission to drive gender equality in the workplace. And today we have 50% of our managerial roles across Unilever Global Business now represented by women. There are a lot of women also on our top management and on our board in Unilever in Nigeria. This 50-50 split is as a result of a goal that we set back in 2010. And so today we're proud to say that we've reached that 50% and we're still driving for more. Our global CEO says diversity and inclusion is one of the 3 things that we want Unilever to be famous for. So ensuring that our business is fair, attracting and retaining the very best talent and helping them to unlock their full potential is what we want to do and what we're striving for. I'm going to quickly mention 9 different things that we want to do and that we're currently doing. One is the fact that we're leading the change from the top. So the voice and the campaign and the agenda is being driven by the global CEO and every CEO in every operating country. The second thing is that we're improving our numbers, as you can see, and the culture, organizational culture at the same time. So our organizational culture is consistently changing. The third thing is that we're on stereotyping our business as well as our brands. In 2016, we launched a global commitment to move our advertising away from stereotypes, recognizing that they're often outdated, unhelpful, and in some cases harmful. The fourth thing is that we're addressing unconscious bias. I'm sure we're all aware of those unconscious biases. In 2018, we began a partnership with a professor at Harvard University, which set out to put Unilever at the cutting edge of results-driven scientific approaches to tackling unconscious bias. We introduced a metric called the gender appointment ratio, which looked at our recruitment track records of some of our senior leaders over a 5-year period. We're offering better support for our new parents globally. Again, in 2018, we completed the rollout of our global maternal well-being standard, which guarantees employees 16 weeks paid maternity leave wherever they're based. And also we recognize that, men are also part of this. So we also have given the fathers to be able to take a 3 weeks paid paternity leave. And we're making flexible working, to work. I heard the other speakers also spoke about flexible working. we've been doing flexible working for a very long time. So for instance, I can decide to work 2 weeks from home. I can decide to work, from home for a period of time, and it doesn't stop what we're doing as long as I'm delivering my objectives. We're also tackling tricky hotspots. In 2017, we identified the areas in which, within which Unilever was facing the greatest challenge in terms of achieving a gender-balanced workforce. And we've since then, developed granularity to our data. So in supply chain, for example, we started to increase representation of women in the function by accelerating the development of existing female leaders and working with recruitment specialists to build, proactive talent pipelines. And we're also doing this in sales as well. In areas where you normally would find that they're male dominated. So today, another thing that we're doing is celebrating those women that are now working in previously male-dominated environments. And then for the 9th one, we know that we still have a lot of work to do. So today, one of the things that we've done is that even though we have achieved that 50-50 gender balance in managerial roles worldwide, but we're still striving to do much more. So there's so much I can talk about. But one of the things that I know that stands out for us is also because we're part of the UN Global Compact. So the UN Global Compact also gives us the opportunity.
1 minute left, Shorami Dayo.
Yeah, okay, that's it. That's fine. I thought I had more time left. That's okay. Go ahead. Over to you.
I didn't mean to cut you short, but we are running very far behind on our time. Thank you so much again. It's great to see that Unilever is in the forefront of the push to achieve gender diversity and inclusion. And I think it's important to highlight inclusion actually, because we don't just want to have the numbers. We don't just want to have the women sitting around the table. We want to ensure that our environments are comfortable and cater to the peculiarities of women, and also that women can thrive and bring their full value for the organization that they work in. So inclusion is important. It's not just about being invited to parties, it's about getting on the dance floor and being fully involved in the dancing. That's one way that I like to distinguish between diversity and inclusion. So we have 5 minutes left, and I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'm just going to ask our panelists if they would like to give us very, very brief closing remarks before we close, because I don't think we're going to have enough time for Q&A. So I will start again with Lansana. Would you like to make your closing remarks? A couple of sentences will do, thank you. We have 5 minutes left. Is Lansana still here? I can't see him.
Yes, I'm still here. Well, thank you very much. My closing remark is simply that gender equality is not only about rights, it's also about development, it's about economics, it's about peace and security, and it's something we should embrace if Nigeria should make the progress for which it has potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now to Emma, would you like to make 1 or 2 sentences as closing remarks? Give us 1 or 2 sentences.
Thank you. I would really just like to encourage everybody on this call to stay in the space of innovation. At IFC, we have a Banking on Women program. We have a women's insurance program. We have a Women Entrepreneurs Finance and Initiative called the WeFi. There are other programs as well. And I think what's important is innovation. So I really encourage everybody to come up with innovative products and services that will help address this issue. All of it starts with us. And I'm excited for those types of partnerships. And we want to partner with many other organizations to really come up with such innovative programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma. Now I'd like to call Mr. Patrick back. Is he here? Patrick, are you here? Yes.
Yes, I am.
1 or 2 sentences to close us off, please.
Thank you very much, Ivana. I would just like to reconfirm EcoBank is very focused on promoting women entrepreneurs to lead out of Nigeria, and please feel free to approach us. And if you need to reach me, I'm sure Ivana would give additional contact points. We're committed. We understand the value because we see it in the value of the bank today, largely from the contribution from women. And we should continue to give women equal opportunity. They will excel naturally. Just give women equal opportunity, and they will take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. You're speaking my language. Now I'd like to call on Soromi Dayo George to give us your closing remarks. Maybe you can complete what you were trying to say earlier on as well. We have 2 minutes left.
Unfortunately, I can't do that in 2 minutes, but really, I think what I want to do is to encourage people to join the UN Global Compact local network in Nigeria. We have a lot of tools to help companies develop, their capabilities in terms of gender inclusion and any other business area that in terms of sustainability. So we have the WEBS tool. So I would encourage businesses to come on board, and we will provide you with all the support that we can. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And for businesses out there who want to find out more about the Global Compact, perhaps you can reach out to the Stock Exchange. I'm sure they will link you with the Compact Network, who are one of the partners. Thank you, Soromi Dayo. And on that note, I would like to thank my distinguished panelists. It's been a privilege to work with you today. Very heartwarming to hear about the giant strides that are being made in the private sector, and also the work that is being done by the IFC and the UN Women and the Global Compact Network. Thank you too for our audience for staying with us. I would now like to hand over back to the NSC. Toby Onojin, over to you. My work is done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivana. It was really great to hear so many impactful initiatives being implemented by UN Women, IFC, Unilever, Global Compact Network Nigeria, and EcoBank, the organizations represented on the panel, to promote women in the workplace and across entrepreneurship. I'm sure the panelists had so much more to give, but sadly we have come to the end of this session. Many thanks to all our speakers for their very insightful contributions. We have now come to the end of this webinar. As we had said at the beginning of this celebrations, the NSC will be joining over 100 securities exchanges all over the world to commemorate International Women's Day and ring the bell for gender equality. Today's bell ringing exercise is particularly special for us, as we'll be honoring our female leaders who serve on the Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and on the boards of the Nigerian Group, on the board of Nigerian Exchange Group and its subsidiaries. I will now hand over to Mr. Oscar N. Onyema, CEO of the NSC, to host the closing gong ceremony. Over to you, Mr. Onyema, sir.
Thank you very much, Toby. Let me just add my voice to saying the panel session was very insightful, and we do thank all the participants in that session. Good afternoon once again, distinguished guests. It has been an afternoon filled with insightful messages delivered by our special guest, Mrs. Ola Jombi Makinwa, Chief Intergovernmental Relations and Africa, UN Global Compact. Our very own council member, Erelu Angela Adebayo, and our keynote speaker, Mr. Kevin Njerani, Regional Director, Southern Africa and Nigeria, International Finance Corporation. The panel discussion was particularly enlightening, and our moderator, Ms. Ivana Osagi, founder, Professional Women's Roundtable, as well as our panelists, Ms. Eme Essien Laurie, Country Manager, IFC, Mrs. George, Chairperson, United Nations Compact, Global Compact Network, Nigeria, Mr. Lassana Wuni, United Nations Deputy Country Representative, Nigeria and ECOWAS, UN Women, and Mr. Patrick Akinwutan, Managing Director, Regional Executive, EcoBank, Nigeria. They shared valuable insights on how business leaders are choosing to challenge gender inequality. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this digital closing gong ceremony as we bring today's trading activities to a close. Today, in commemoration of 2021 International Women's Day, the Nigerian Stock Exchange is pleased to join the Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative, as well as over 100 global exchanges, to ring the bell for gender equality. These global bell ringing events are designed to raise awareness about the role of the private sector in advancing gender equality to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, especially goal number 5, while helping to raise awareness about the women's empowerment principles. Today's bell ringing for gender equality, however, is a unique one for us. This is because we have reached an advanced stage of our demutualization program, and we expect that this will be the last International Women's Day celebration that we'll be commemorating as the entity known as the Nigerian Stock Exchange. To this end, we are dedicating today's bell ringing ceremony to reaffirm our commitment to advancing gender equality and honor our women leaders who serve on the National Council of the NSC, as well as our newly appointed women leaders who would serve on the boards of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC and its subsidiaries post-demutualization. I now invite Mrs. Catherine Echozo, Second Vice President, National Council of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and the women on NSC Council and NGX boards to present the reaffirmation of
There, Mrs. Catherine, I think the CEO has been cut off, so it would be great if you can proceed. He has already invited you to make a presentation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our dear panelists. I add my voice in saying thank you very much. I'm very happy with the World Federation of Exchanges and the Nigerian Stock Exchange for using this very wonderful tradition of the closing bell to promote gender equality. Closing bell is a big tradition in our world of the capital market world, the world of exchanges. It's actually a 150-year-old tradition, very prestigious. So I'm very happy that for the last 7 years, we've been using it to promote gender equality. A lot has been said, a lot of great things have been said. There are just two things I would like to add before we go on to the closing. The first is that in some of the discussions about gender equality, there's a big a tone and the current of being patronizing. It's as though we're helping the women by bringing them on board. But I like what both Kevin and Patrick said. It's smart business sense. It's good business strategy to bring women on board. You know why? Because women are actually the ones that take most of the decisions about where to spend, about what to spend on. And it's across board. It's not just when you're buying a universal product. It's not just when you're buying furniture. It's when you're buying a car as well. When you're building a house. When the women buy the clothing for the men. I buy most of my husband's clothing. And even if the one he's buying, if I don't like it, it's not likely to wear it again. So it's actually smart business sense, good business strategy to have women take the leadership position on the boards, because they're the ones that take the decision about where to spend the money. Second message I would like to add, please, is that the Nigerian Stock Exchange has done extremely well. Like Erolu said, we have three women on council, and we're going to get even better. As we evolve to the new entities, the NGX Group, PLC, we're going to have 11 women across in the boards of our 4 companies, 11 women. And I would like to share with you the names of the ladies. Some of them are with us presently. We have Erolu Angela Adebayo. We have Fatima Binta Bello Ismail. We have Ojinika Oladere. We have Professor Enase Okonode. We have Mrs. Ahmad Amin. We have Miss Tinu Awe. We have Mrs. Salamatu Husseini Suleiman. We have Miss Foluke Oyeleye. We have Mrs. Aisha Waziri Umar. We have Miss Ngozi Edozie. 11 women on the board of the 4 companies of the new NGX PLC. I think that's great. And we also plan to encourage our ecosystem, working with the various other advocates to push this across our ecosystem, the listed companies, the various participants in the capital markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I think that really deserves a round of applause. I mean, it's a major step up.
Thank you.
So we're just 1 minute shy of 2:30 when the market officially closes. And at exactly 2:30, I would invite all of our women leaders to join me in closing the market for today. The countdown has started, so we're almost there. I will let you know when we're there. Okay, we're there now. Let's close the market, please. Thank you very much. That familiar sound is what you would have heard if you were on the trading floor of the exchange. With COVID, we've been forced to go digital with it. May I invite Mr. Bola Adeako to give the closing remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Onyema. Good afternoon, everyone. Perhaps it would be the wise thing for me to stand on the previously established protocol, which certainly was done quite in a very detailed manner by Oscar a few minutes ago. In lending my voice to the course, I also would like to say that I choose to challenge for gender equality via more intentional actions in my capacity as a business leader, as well as non-exec board director positions. It's indeed an honor to extend the vote of thanks to all those who have contributed in no small ways to making today's event a success, which is recognizing for 2021 International Women's Day, which we just finished off with the Ring the Bell for Gender Equality. Our most sincere appreciation goes to our distinguished guest, special guest of honor, who delivered what I'll call the tone-setting goodwill messages, our keynote speakers and moderator, as well as all of our panelists. Let me also express our deepest appreciation to our partners, the IFC, Global Compact Network Nigeria, as well as UN Women. The NSC and IFC, as previously highlighted by both Eredu Adebayo, our keynote speaker, as well as IFC Nigeria Country Manager, Ms. Eme Ese-Lore, indicates that the journey that we started about a little over a year ago around deepening how we impact gender equality is one that certainly has started to show some results, but we expect to continue over the next couple of years. Our collaboration with UN Women, also who have supported us my partner with us in hosting this event over the years, we expect would continue, as well as our collaboration with Global Compact Network Nigeria, wherein we're looking to deepen the adoption of sustainable business practices across our market. And certainly we're pleased to extend our collaboration to include advancing gender equality. It would be totally remiss of me not to thank my fellow staff members at the Exchange and Management of Force, who continue to invest resources to create an engaging virtual experience for all of our stakeholders, such as the one we just had today. And we will continue to enshrine a culture that promotes non-discrimination and well-balanced work environment at the Exchange. In closing, I would like to reiterate NSC's commitment to creating a gender-balanced world. We recognize that there is still a lot of work to be done, considering the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on global gender empowerment targets, but we remain resolute. I thank you all for listening. Please continue to stay safe and remain in good health. We look forward to your continued support as we continually work towards building a gender equal world. Have a good rest of the day as well as the rest of the week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice one.
Bye.